Hello, church. We're on day 12 of the time of humbling ourselves, fasting and praying for great deliverances and salvation and breakthroughs in our life. Yesterday, I spoke to you about a man greatly loved of God by the name of Daniel from the 10th chapter of that book. And we talked about how for 21 days he prayed persistently and fervently for an answer to come. And his answer was sent on the 21st day. And we talked about the fact that there's an enemy that was resisting that. I want to explore that further with a parable from Jesus in the 18th chapter of the Gospel of Luke. And it's a parable that actually describes what it's about. Right in the very first verse, then he, that is Jesus, spoke a parable to them that men always ought to pray consistently, fervently, and persistently, and not lose heart. There's a direct connection between praying fervently, faithfully, and persistently, and keeping our heart and strengthening our heart. The alternative is that we will lose heart if we give up before the answer comes. And Jesus tells the story about an unjust judge who did not fear God nor care about man, in a widow. And a widow in the ancient Near East is penniless, has no economic power, and has no voice. But yet she comes to this judge in this story repeatedly, over and over again. Avenge me of my adversary, avenge me of my adversary, avenge me of my adversary. Her prayer is not long. She probably expressed it to him day in and day out, every morning, afternoon, and evening. She probably did it in 12 different ways, but it all boils down to the same thing: avenge me of my adversary. And this judge says to himself, that even though I do not fear God, nor do I care for people, I'm going to give this widow what she wants, lest she wear me out, and I'm exhausted. In the Greek there, that's translated wear me out, is actually to the point of exhaustion. It's actually a Greek word, hypopiazo, in the verb form, which speaks of repeated blows underneath an eye. It's actually an idiom for giving someone a black eye. This woman, of course, was not literally punching this judge, but metaphorically, in her prayer, in her persistence, she was pummeling him and not letting him come up for air. And so Jesus sums it all up by saying, listen to what the unjust said. What did the unjust judge say? He said, I'm going to give her what she's requested. Even though I don't care about what's right, I'm going to give her what is right. Now, this is a parable of contrast and of comparison. And what that means is there's things that are true in this parable and there's things that are not true in this parable. The things that are not true is that God is not like an unjust judge. What is true is there's an enemy who's acting like this unjust judge who will try to keep everything good, beneficial, and righteous from happening in our life. Prayer is like this widow. It is true that prayer is like this widow, that you have to continue to persist and fervently keep asking, keep seeking, and keep knocking before the door is open to you. So Jesus goes on and concludes this parable with this teaching. He says, and shall God not avenge his own elect, his chosen and beloved ones, who cry out day and night to him, though he bears long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. I love that word speedily. One of my three favorite words when it comes to the promises of God and answers to prayer are speedily, suddenly, immediately. But the process of believing God and praying through the journey to that answer is very rarely speedily, suddenly, and immediately. We are like what Jesus describes in the 7th verse. We're crying out day and night. But when the time comes, when everything is ready, because you see, God's getting the timing right, God's getting other people ready, God's getting the circumstances ready, but more importantly, he's getting me and you ready for a kingdom value, a whole new season of signs and wonders and miracle wealth. And the Lord wants us to be ready to carry that in a way that brings him glory and that does not cause pride to rise up in the inside of us. We selflessly and sacrificially continue to give ourselves in the name of Jesus to what the Lord wants to do in setting captives free, opening blind eyes, just doing whatever impossible circumstances people are facing in their life. The God of whom all things are possible wants to break through in our lives and through our church and through churches all the way across this globe. When Nicole, our daughter, suffered a near-fatal car accident in January of 2007. She was 9 days in a coma, and the doctors kept saying, we don't want to go backwards, but we kept going ever so slightly forward, day by day, slight improvement here, slight improvement there. And finally, when the time was right, when God's time for speedily began, he raised her up with such rapidity that they could not keep up with her recovery. One day, a charge nurse took me to the side and he said to me, Phil, you must think we're the Three Stooges around here, but your daughter's recovery is so rapid and speedy, we can't keep up with it. That continued through a rehab that it turned out she didn't even need. So when God's time comes, take heart, take courage. When his time comes, there's an acceleration that's going to come as we go into this new season. Look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.